It's been a long, long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. At least the Texans have to do something.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Texans podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If this is your first time here, I need you to do three things: subscribe, like, and comment. And for our everydayers from the Himalayas, hey, y'all already know what to do. Bring it in. Bring it in. You know what I'm saying? Got to give you a hug. We appreciate everything that you do for us every day. You come on and you like and comment. I love the comments, John. I love the comments.
They've been turned up lately.
For sure. On today's show, changes to Texans O-line unit, more of Gerrod Johnson involvement, and how can Houston grow from the loss to the Green Bay Packers?
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. I'm your Texans football analyst, John Some Sports Guy Hickman. On the other side of the screen, Texans credential media member Brian Big Sarge Bearfield. Please excuse his Houston attitude, and that's for the show, but for the Houston Texans fans throughout the country, I guess we need to excuse a little bit of the attitude from Demeco Ryans, or maybe not, because he was asked about potential changes, guys, and listen to what your second-year head coach had to say.
For me, everything is on the table. When it comes to it, has to get fixed.
Where's your faith Chris Strausser right now and being able to turn things around?
Yeah, like I said, when it comes to it, I know how we're coached, what we're asking to be done, and it's not showing up on the tape. So it's not just one person; it's the entire thing. So it's just the entire offense from the top to the bottom. We have to get it cleaned up, not one person or one thing, but multiple things, multiple issues that we have to get collectively. We have to get it fixed.
Big Sarge, it was a rough day for the Houston Texans front five on Sunday. From tackle to tackle, and especially on the inside, the Houston Texans O-line got what I like to call punched in the mouth for 4 quarters and didn't respond. I had struggles and issues with the communication of stunts, twists, blitzes, whatever you want to say. The Green Bay Packers just brought the fight to the Texans offensive line, and they never really responded back, never gave C.J. Stroud enough time to connect with some of his receivers, to allow the passing game to get into a rhythm, which, by the way, guys, C.J. Stroud was held to 86 yards. This was the number one passing offense in the NFL. So a large part of that was due to the offensive line. And his comments, I think, for me, a large part of that is due to this ain't week 1, this ain't week 2, this ain't week 3, week 4, week 4. Y'all remember LeBron, not 1, not 2. This is week 7, for the Houston Texans. And they have had this issue dating back to last year in a sense. And I thought that last year they was a little bit better when they had Kendrick Green out there. But this is an issue for this team, and it doesn't seem to be going away. So I guess the question for you is, to kick it off, is it time to make a change, either coaching staff change in terms of your position coach, or maybe you got to pull some guys and say, you know what, we're going in a different direction?
John, the worst thing that the best thing and the worst thing that could have happened to the Houston Texans organization is head coach Demeco Ryans. And now, because some people are going to stop it right there, try to clip it right there and be like, no, listen to what Sarge says. Listen to what I'm about to say.
Please, because I took my glasses off, so I got to see this and hear this.
The best thing is hiring Demeco Ryans, who is by far was by far one of the best assistant coaches out there, by far one of the best defensive minds out there, and bringing him back to the team that gave him an opportunity. The worst thing by hiring Demeco Ryans is he is a former NFL player. Now, see, this is how, because semantically speaking, John, I didn't say he was worse for the organization. I didn't say he was worse for the team. What I'm saying is it's worse. I mean, it's worse. He's the best and the worst because when it comes to this other side, Demeco has been there. Demeco has the best of both worlds. He's been a player and now he's a coach. And so he attacks things totally different. It's different when you're coached by somebody who never played the game at the highest level. It's different when you're coached by someone who just became a boy wonder genius or became, someone who just watched the game for so long, or, somebody who was, Bronny James into this thing,
Right. Lineage a little bit, family
yeah.
legacy.
A lot of Nepo babies in the NFL, John. We got to talk about that a whole another time. But the worst thing is Demeco can look at this thing from a player's position and from a coach's position, and that's bad for players and that's bad for coaches because he's going to be brutally honest, and you cannot trick him. You cannot trick him in any form or phases of this game because he has played it at the highest level. He has coached it at the highest level. Now, let me elaborate a little bit more on that, John. When Demeco goes back, you got a head coach who, when he looks at the film, he's not just looking at it from a coordinator's perspective. He's looking at it. We're going to use the offensive line for example. When Demeco goes back and he looks at this tape, he's looking at it through the eyes of a linebacker, and he's saying, "Oh, here's a weakness right here. If I was playing, this is what I would have done. If I was playing, this is where I would have. If I was playing and I knew that they were weak in these areas, then of course I'd be like, hey, hold up. Hey, look, we're going to run this, blah, 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 blah. The call comes in. Hey, coach, let's run these stunts. Let's run this blitz. Let's run this delayed blitz because their line is not picking it up, and we can be successful in that." And so that's what I mean by it's the worst thing because you're being evaluated by someone who has been on who's been on both sides of the ball. So now when he looks at his offensive line, when he looks at Chris Strausser and he says, "Y'all got to get it together," what you gonna tell him? You can't trick him because he knows too much, and he's a high level thinker, and he's also one of those people that will break that film down all the way to the bottom, and he'll go back and say, "Here's your problem. Now, if I got to come on the offensive side of the ball and fix this problem, what I need you for?" See, John, all of this, all of the lovey-dovey of having Demeco back is wearing off, and now y'all are starting to see, Demeco is about that life.
I'm glad you said that, not to cut you off, but because I've seen a lot of people, Demeco need to stop with all this friendly coaching. He needs to be more. I've seen a lot of those comments, and guys, let me just say this, and I haven't seen it firsthand, but it's gotten back to me. What that social media, Houston Texans social media page puts out whenever they win games, that's just 30-40% of Demeco Ryans.
Yes.
And he does smile a lot. But when the camera's off, when the doors are closed, and I've been at practices, man, when it really shut down, you get the coach that you need. So I think they need to cut that out.
Yeah. And John, it's Demeco is one of those guys where he just wants what's best for the team, no matter what. If that means that he has to sacrifice something, he'll sacrifice it if it means that it's going to be the best for the team. And John, look, if that offensive line can't get it together, if that offensive line coach can't get it together, Demeco has enough power in this organization to go and say, there needs to be a change. Hey, Nick, there needs to be a change, because I'm going to tell you this, John, and you know this firsthand as well. Demeco and Nick are on the same page, and they both see the game pretty much the exact same way. The only thing is Demeco has played it. So Demeco and Nick, they're on the same page. They both think alike when it comes to football. They make decisions together. He has an open door policy to walk right into Nick, and then he can walk out of Nick's office and walk right into Kyle McNair's office and have a seat and begin to say, hey, this is what I need. But 9 times out of 10, once he leaves out of Nick's office, he don't have to go down to Kyle's office, because Nick is going to already say, we got it.
So let's take a deeper look, Sarge, because I think the fact is For one, I just mentioned it, you mentioned it, the perception of what people think Demeco Ryans is ain't true.
Yeah.
He is that type of coach.
Yes.
But the fact is, if we keep it real, let's keep it 100. I don't think the tone would be the same if it was week 3. The tone wasn't necessarily the same coming off that loss to the Minnesota Vikings. The tone, I think, is different now because, okay, now everybody sees it. Sarge, you put it beautifully. Chicago opened the door. They showed you where the house was at, what's the problems.
Yep.
Minnesota opened the doors, and I think the Packers was a game where it was just like, oh, y'all still ain't got y'all leaks fixed.
For sure.
There's a leak in this building, and now we got to look at somebody's soul in terms of a player or a coach leaving, and they just not getting it done. It's not working. And so for me, I'm looking at the depth chart right now. Starters, Titus, Shaq Mason, Juice Scruggs, Kenyon Green, Laramie Tunsil. I'm going to say this right now, and this may confuse some of you guys because I've given him praise throughout this year. But if you go back and look at a lot of these second halves for Kenyon Green, he's tired, he's gassed, his technique goes out the window. Fundamentally, he breaks down, and he becomes a liability for the Houston Texans. If you look at some of the effort that you've been getting out of Titus Howard, my question is, and you just got paid, Pop Trunk Wave, why aren't you being that staple on that offensive line to show that aggressiveness, to fight back, to punch back to some of these defensive lines and some of these D units that's been kind of whooping out? And Juice Scruggs just ain't getting it done. Whether it's the communication issues that, Sarge, we've talked about a lot, or just straight up blocking consistently. Have we seen 4 quarters of consistent play, and that includes everything from Juice Scruggs?
Yeah. No,
I don't think we have.
Yeah.
So I look at 3 of those guys, and I think to myself, does Kendrick Green give us a better opportunity right now than Kenyon Green? Okay, can we get something out of Jared Patterson? Do we need to move Titus Howard back to guard? And if that's the case, I think you need to explore trading him because I didn't like his play at guard in the first place. Does Blake Fisher give us a better chance to compete right now? I don't think so. But of those 3 players, I do think one of those guys needs to be a quote-unquote sacrificial lamb, along with O-line coach Chris Strausser. There got to be a come-to-Jesus meeting, and somebody got to get moved on from. And if it's up to me right now, I don't even want to look at trying to set a standard or set the tone. I think it's Kenyon Green.
You think Kenyon Green should be traded?
No, not traded. I think he should be
benched
for right now.
I don't think I would bench him, though, John. And the reason why I said,
where do you move him? Because Kendrick Green will be your left guard.
Yeah, but I mean, Kendrick Green, even before he got hurt, he was playing okay, but he wasn't playing the best either, John. I mean, we're talking about a guy who Mike Tomlin said was probably one of the worst football players he's ever seen in his life.
Came to Houston, had some good moments for Houston last year.
So, I mean, they all have some good moments, John. But all I'm gonna say is this: is that I'm not ready to give up on Kenyon just yet. And like I said, I know that he sat out an entire year. You know, we're 7 games into this thing, 7 games into him and Juice playing together, 7 games into it. And I know that I read all the social media things and I've seen the PFF grades, but I think that there's a bigger problem. And I think that it's not just Kenyon. I think it's Kenyon, Juice, and although Shaq did play well Sunday, he's had some issues too. I think that core group needs to get together and work on some things and maybe do some extra film study, because sometimes, John, I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes it looks as if Kenyon is trying to figure out who he has, what's his responsibility, and Juice should have already told him that.
I agree. There was one play from Sunday, Rashawn Gary motion. That's funny, right? But he motions to the middle, stands up and motions, and now he's coming from the middle instead of coming from the side like you normally from the edge, like you normally would. And that play was blow up. And I'm thinking to myself, you should have known that inside protection was supposed to be there. Was it communicated with one another? How did you guys go about that before the snap? Now, again, I kind of still put that on Kenyon Green because that's a cardinal rule.
Yeah.
So maybe I will say this. Maybe Green is suffering from Juice Scruggs. Maybe Shaq Mason is suffering from juice. Maybe there is one player messing up the entire core of that team. So they got to find out where their leak is and their nucleus. But I think regardless of how we look at it, a change needs to be made before the next game against the Indianapolis Colts.
John, and real quickly, I don't want to just put it on Juice either. Like I said, it's all three of them. All three of them. And it only takes one to do something wrong on the play to affect the other two, or two affect the other one. It's like that. It's the interior line that has to play better, because I'm not giving Kenyon Green a pass and says that he hasn't performed up to what the standard is so far. So yes, that entire interior line, they need some help, and that's when it reflects back to you're getting paid, Chris Strausser. You got to fix it.
Locked On Texans listeners and viewers, this is a perfect opportunity to let you know about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Whenever you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. So what are you waiting for? Pick up your phone, go to the App Store, and download FanDuel right now, or visit FanDuel.com. And this is also the best opportunity to talk to our small business owners out there. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has all of the tools you need to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows small businesses are wearing so many different hats, so you may not have the time or resources to hire. They're constantly finding new ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process faster, quicker, and easier for you guys out there that are all of our small business owners. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. Today is the last day you'll have a chance to win 2 tickets to see the Texans take on the Colts this Sunday. Great seats, Section 105. So all you have to do is a couple of things. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12 or Instagram at Some Sports Guy. I will post where you can click on the link, fill it out. Your name will go into the contest. It'll be randomly picked, and we will announce it right here on the show as we continue to talk Texans. Sarge, now this has been something that's been speculated for a very long time, I believe, behind closed doors. A lot of private conversations. C.J. Stroud and Gerrod Johnson are very close as his quarterback coach. The Houston Texans made sure they brought him back this year. Sure. Didn't want to lose him. Gave him a nice pay raise, right? I mean, a nice bump in the pay raise. Not pocket watching, but shout out to the brother. And they also, this is after Bobby Slowik agreed to come back. So they got their guys back, but did that point to any sign in the future to say he may be the guy moving forward whenever Bobby leaves? Or I think now it's coming off as he was the insurance plan if things don't go right. I could be over speculating, but talk to us about that.
Yeah, so Gerrod Johnson and C.J. Stroud have a very, very, very good relationship. They're very close, and they've been knowing each other. Gerrod has been knowing C.J. since I think it was at the Elite 11 camp, I think, if I'm not mistaken. They go way back to even before C.J. was at Ohio State. And so they have this type of relationship. C.J. always credits Gerrod for his credits him for his confidence. And he says that Gerrod is the one that told me that to have confidence in myself. Gerrod is the one that told me that I could play in the NFL one day, amongst others. But Gerrod was the one that he listened to the most, especially since Gerrod played the position as well. And so they have this close relationship that they've had for a very long time. And if Bobby would have been hired for a position, Gerrod Johnson was one of the candidates to take over as offensive coordinator because of his rapport with C.J. Stroud, his rapport with everybody on the offensive side of the ball. Even though he's the quarterback's coach, he still is involved with the receivers as well. And so, and he knows the system. He knows the system. He knows exactly what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish. And so with CJ, CJ is one of those ones where he's gonna listen and follow the instructions of the coaches, and he's gonna do exactly what they say. He's not one of those ones that's gonna ruffle the feathers of anyone. He's not a problem. He never has been. Anybody that'll tell you that CJ is coachable. But CJ also has an infinity for somebody that has been there. He's one of those, John, you know how you have those people that you can call right now that you've been friends with, they're loyal, you've been there, they've been there for you, the A1 since day one.
Right. Yeah.
That's what Gerrod is to CJ. Also, Gerrod is one of those ones that, while everybody is, praising and giving CJ all his accolades, Gerrod is one of the ones that'll be tell him exactly what he's doing wrong. And CJ knows that as well. And so I'm not saying that the Houston Texans should make a drastic change right now and say, hey, Bobby, I don't think that they should do what the New York Jets did and take play calling duties from Nathaniel Hackett and give them to someone else. I don't think they should take the play calling duties away from Bobby Slowik. But what I feel like is maybe Bobby needs some help.
Yeah.
Maybe Bobby needs some help. And what I mean by that is not help in designing plays. Maybe he needs help. He needs another set of eyes that he could have next to him, or maybe a co-offensive coordinator in Gerrod Johnson. Somebody say, hey, look, this is what we need to be doing. And I'm pretty sure Bobby says that. I'm sure Gerrod says that in those offensive meetings and say, hey, man, this is what we should be doing. But if you make him, co-offensive coordinator, if that's what he wants to do, I think that having those two voices in CJ's ear at the same time, he's able to decipher between, because he knows that whatever Gerrod is telling him, he's telling him how to fix it from a quarterback perspective, and Bobby is telling him what to do as far as the play is concerned.
Yeah, and I do think that, to your point, drastically taking a play calling duties completely away from Bobby Slowik, I think that's a lot. But I think that's also why we titled it just more involvement.
Yes.
Because I think that the play from CJ Sunday really showed how this team can be beat. If CJ has to be Superman every regular season game, playoffs is different.
Yeah.
That's when you want and need your quarterback to play like a Superman, i.e. like an Eli Manning during his 2 playoff runs. We've seen players like Big Ben in their playoff runs where they play superhuman-like at quarterback. That's when you want to see it. But in the regular season, you need the help from the sidelines to make sure that, A, your quarterback is upright and healthy when the playoffs get here.
Yep.
And so, as I don't know about you, but I think that's starting to become a realization of an issue that, hey, CJ is taking way too many shots, and now that may be leading to him, hey, I can't extend it right now because I just got hit 2 plays in a row, which I'm not over exaggerated. We've seen it on Sunday. We've seen it against Minnesota. So we've seen it. And so if the help ain't coming from one person on the sideline, and I ain't talking about the future, next offseason, things could look different. Yeah. Bobby may or may not be in Houston, or he may, get it together while he's in Houston. But if it's not working right now from what you got on the sideline, you got to find a way to aid that person that's supposed to be aiding your quarterback. And I think Gerrod Johnson really knows exactly what CJ does extremely well.
Yes.
He also knows and every quarterback has them, some of his flaws. So I think whenever you're in that position, and you can stop me or correct me if I'm wrong, whenever you're in that position and you're also on the sideline of the sideline,
yes,
you do see the game a little bit slower.
Yep.
You do see the game a little bit different. And not only are you seeing that from your quarterback, but you're also seeing it from the weapons you got on the field. You may know how to deploy some of those weapons and utilize them a little bit more. You may understand that, hey, you know what? They are really killing us with this blitz, whether it's coming from the edge or from the middle. We can't contain it right now. We may not need to have a bunch of offense.
Yeah.
We may need to spread it out a little bit so we can dink and dunk our way to first downs.
Yeah.
So, I think that could help Houston moving forward. I think that can help Bobby. Again, it would be drastic if we got a Houston Texans fire Bobby Slowik or Houston Texans completely take away play calling duties. I think that's a lot. That's extreme. But I think we do need to see more and get more help to the play calling so this offense can hit a rhythm.
And John, it really quickly, it isn't so much of just wanting to make a change with Bobby Slowik, and it isn't just so much of want to take some of that partial responsibility of calling plays away from him. It's the person who you're looking to help him. It's the person who you're looking to give him give responsibilities to, because Gerrod also knows that he's not only looking at it from CJ's perspective, he's looking at it from a former quarterback's perspective. And he's saying to himself, and listen, and I'm not saying this is what Gerrod is saying. I'm saying, like, this is what I think. This is just my opinion. My opinion would be, he's saying, hey, man, listen, if we're going to get this offensive line that can't give CJ enough time, then we got to go faster. We got to go faster. Sometimes I'm gonna be
ask CJ about that tempo. Remember I got a chance to exit, and then
no, John.
That's been something, Sarge, we've talked about all year, and it's like, for me, if you speed the defense up,
yes,
that allows you to do what? You punch them in the mouth.
Hold the triangle down.
When you cannot, that's funny. When you don't allow that defense to get set, you're putting them on their heels.
Don't let them.
CJ said all of the great offenses I've seen move with an up-paced tempo.
Yes.
But in Houston, that's not the case.
Yeah.
I also think a faster offense does allow your offensive line, because if you're getting that ball a lot quicker, I don't got to do a lot up front right now. I give you a split second, the ball is out.
Yep. John, look, I know this. I can feel your passion, brother. Yeah. I know I can feel it.
Pray for me.
And look, and real quickly, John, you are right, because you start going faster tempo. Listen, you got a running back who would love to play that same style too, because you feed him the rock. Then when you're not feeding him, he's in pass coverage. He just want to touch the rock. Also, you're not giving the defense enough time to get set and see everything that you're trying to do. You're also not allowing for substitutions. And if you are, they're still coming in and you're moving at such a quick pace that they don't know what's happening. And you're allowing Stephon and Tank to operate in open space, because the defensive backs are still trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. When we come back, how can the Houston Texans grow from Sunday's loss? We'll talk about that. But Big Sarge, listen, man, Rockets play on Wednesday. If you ain't got your tickets yet, what are you waiting on? Last-minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. The only place you're going to get that promise fulfilled is with Game Time. They also got this new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all of the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They also offer something that I really think every adult should love, and that's insurance. Your purchase is going to be covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. Going to make this a short one. Sarge, how can the Houston Texans grow from this loss?
They have to go watch the film again, and then watch the film one more time, and then flush it out their system and move on to the Indianapolis Colts. You got to live and you got to learn. This is the NFL is a league where you cannot sit back and harp on the mistakes. You got to go in, you got to correct the mistakes. And this is a young team that bounces back from a lot of things. We've seen how they bounce back from their loss that horrible loss to the Minnesota Vikings. And this one may sting a little bit more because they had an opportunity to win the game despite how they played on the field, despite all the adversity that they had to go through. They still had an opportunity to win this game. So this one will sting, a little bit throughout throughout Tuesday, throughout Tuesday, and come Wednesday when it's time to prepare for the coach and get ready, it'll be out of their system, and they can learn from that. I'm pretty sure Demeco is going to remind them that that's not the type of performance I want to see on the field ever again.
I think one underlying theme for this entire show, we talk about changes and all of that, but with change comes adjustments. And I think that's probably the biggest way Houston can grow from this loss. Hey, man, you guys, got back into a bad rhythm of not being able to score points in the second half, and you're not coming out with the right adjustments. So I think this loss really put it on the Summer Jam screen.
Yep.
Texans have a problem with making these adjustments. And again, what's an adjustment that they can make? Maybe we do need to get Gerrod Johnson more involved with some of the offensive duties on Sundays. Maybe an adjustment is maybe we do need to rotate one of our starting offensive linemen out and giving somebody else some opportunities to go. Hey, with the play calling from the first and second half, maybe we do need to adjust how teams are attacking us defensively. Maybe we can speed it up. So I think for Houston, the biggest learning lesson through 7 weeks, actually, especially when you highlight the two losses, how can those adjustments lead to bigger and better performances from the offense, from the defense, and ultimately leading to the Houston Texans getting some wins?
Yep.
Thank you guys for watching today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texans podcast on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12 and Instagram at Some Sports Guy.
And you can follow me at Big Star Sports with the Z at the end on the app formerly known as Twitter, and on Instagram at Big Star Sports with the Z at the end.
Please stop having John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson out there for blocking purposes only. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.